recognize the work that we have done over the past year. This is definitely a highlight of the year because it's a tough job that we do, and I think it's good for us to take one night out of the year to share that with family, friends, and fellow co-workers. The best thing about these award ceremonies, with the exception of one, is picked and submitted by the officers, reviewed by an advisory board, and those ones are selected from that advisory board. So myself, the two majors, we don't pick these awards. So the first one is going to go to a CAPS, and if you don't know our citizens, we have a Citizens Auxiliary Patrol. And these ladies and gentlemen volunteer their time helping us out with different aspects of the patrol, coming in doing vacation house checks, helping us with special events. And so every quarter we like to recognize these fine folks that help us out. And the CAPS for the fourth quarter goes to Mr. Ed Clark. You got to make a speech too, Ed.
You got to talk, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Come on in, there's flag.
Got it?
Yeah.
The next two I have, one of them's not here today because he's busy working. But we pride ourselves on our physical fitness standards here in Johns Creek. And then I think next February we're starting on a new endeavor, right? Whole 30? Yeah. Yeah. So we're all looking forward to that. Yeah. My wife's my biggest critic, saying I'm not going to be able to do it, but I'm going to try. So the two physical fitness awards that we have for this year, the first one is the female category, goes to Miss Valerie Johnson. The male category went to Mr. Officer Tamara Rowe.
Stood up.
Yeah. Fourth quarter officer of the year, and I don't know if he's here tonight, goes to Corporal Victor Mazzarelli. AKA Viper. Yeah, he'll be at roll call 5 a.m. I'll be there to give it to him. And before we get into the rest of them, the mayor wasn't here when I gave the opening remarks, but I'd like to turn the floor over to him for just a minute.
I just want to take 1 second, well, maybe two, I am a politician, and bring you greetings on behalf of the City Council. I know a number of them have been here, and I'm proud to be joined by Councilmember Andres. But I really appreciate this time of year to say thank you to each and every one of you and your families, most importantly your families. There's nothing that we can do to properly compensate you for the risks that you take every day. I'm reminded all I have to do is watch the news and see the reminders of what you're doing for us. You know, folks ask me, why is Johns Creek such a great city? And I say for two reasons. One, because we have great schools, and two, because everyone knows they're going to be safe when they're in the city of Johns Creek. Well, we know where that safety comes from, and it comes from you. And I want to say thank you very much for that. I just came back from Washington, D.C., had the opportunity to go to the White House. It's not my first time at the White House, but it is my first time under our new president. And I can tell you there's a huge comparison and contrast between the two. And it was very good to hear the President of the United States remind everyone how important it is that we pay respect to the police officers who are out there protecting us every day. And so I bring you greetings from the White House, from a president that clearly has got your back. So I do want to say thank you. Obviously, you know, if there's anything that I can ever do in the mayor's office, the door's always open. And again, thanks for a great year, and congratulations in advance to all of those that are going to get the awards as the night goes on. Thanks.
The next category we have is our Volunteer of the Year. So excited to get the chaplains program we have really off to a running start this year. So it didn't surprise me when our Volunteer of the Year was one of our chaplains. This from the submission, I'd like to volunteer Reverend Michael McClure for Volunteer of the Year for 2017. Since coming on board as one of our volunteer chaplains, Reverend McClure has been a welcome face of the department on a weekly basis. Heard nothing but praise from him from all personnel in the agency. Reverend McClure has assisted in many death notifications from our road officers and CID on multiple occasions. He's extended nearly every event to the department has hosted during his volunteer time.
Battery.
Uh-oh. All right. The PIO is on charge. Yeah. So anyways, Reverend McClure has provided training for the entire department on cultural awareness dealing with people of the Muslim faith, which was extremely timely and informative. Many of our uniformed supervisors have expressed their desire to have Reverend McClure ride on many shifts, as he would like to come in and be a friend and advisor to so many of us on the road. Reverend McCullough has gone to great lengths to reclaim the chaplain's program to its intended vision and purpose. He's deserving of the honor and volunteer of the year. Thank you very much.
And I think I'm back live.
Our next category is Employee of the Year. And our Employee of the Year, this person came on board a little bit over a year with the daunting task of keeping our accreditation both in the state and national accreditation at CALEA, which is no easy task, given the fact that we didn't have very much higher to go to attain what we were trying to do, but she managed to put it together for us. So our Employee of the Year this year is Ms. Valerie Johnson. This is probably our heaviest one. So this squad's performance for 2017 was exemplified by our department's vision statement, striving to set the standards all others would choose to follow. During 2017, this squad has welcomed several new officers to include the shift sergeant, shift lieutenant, and 3 experienced officers new to Johns Creek, and 2 officers new to law enforcement. There are several things that impact law enforcement's department. The positive impact on this community it serves day to day and duties assigned to Uniform Patrol Division cannot be understated. With that, the Squad of the Year goes to D Squad.
I'm honored, D Squad.
Thank you.
Good job.
The next one we have is our Leadership Award. This sergeant consistently demonstrates leadership traits that make him exceptional. First, he is an excellent communicator. He takes time to listen to his subordinates and provide them with tools and knowledge to ensure that expectations are met. He is always ready, willing, and able to assist. He's great at recognizing when an officer may need assistance and ensure that he is in a position to assist them when needed. Second, he's never in a bad mood. He always came to work with an energetic and positive attitude. His attitude is contagious, and he sets a great example for his squad to follow. One of his best qualities is that he is excellent at acknowledging the contribution of others. He utilizes guardian tracking very effectively to recognize their superior performance. Not only does he thoroughly document these, but he takes the time to acknowledge the individual officer in front of their peers. Finally, he emphasizes that police work is a team effort and that the individual officer will be successful when the department is successful. He has earned the respect not only of his subordinates, but also of his peers. So this year's Leadership Award goes to Sergeant Rod Lucen. And our next category goes for Officer of the Year. This officer was nominated for Officer of the Year because he set himself apart. The past year he's grown into his role as an officer. He has demonstrated a passion for the job and has gone above and beyond on multiple occasions, setting a standard I hope others to attain. He takes pride in his work and often goes the extra mile to investigate, which lessens the burden on others in the department. He's been recognized for these actions on multiple occasions from other units and from citizens. During the course of the year, he was recommended for 2 life-saving awards, an honorable service award, and has received several other commendations from his supervisors as well as other supervisors from different squads. He is always among the shift leaders in monthly arrests, patrols, and other activity. He is well respected and looked upon by his peers. His personality and lighthearted spirit help with the shift camaraderie on a daily basis. This year's Officer of the Year goes to Officer Matt DeServo. Thumbs up. We're good.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
The next category is the Chiefs Award. It's the one that I get to pick once a year. This officer, I tell you, he comes in, works every day, stays under the radar, tries to do his job, but he does a fabulous job every day, no matter what's always thrown at him. This gentleman's made over 1,500 traffic stops, 121 arrests, 83 DUIs, and still manages to work extra calls. He also serves as an FTO for new hires. He volunteers for every assignment that comes his way. And every officer I've ever talked to that's ever worked for him as an FTO or with him has nothing but the highest praise to say for him. Work ethic, his character, and his overall dedication to the duty. So my pick this year goes to Officer Colin Mello. Our next category is going to go to honorable service. And if you're wondering what honorable service is, it's in your program, but it's given to individuals who's committed a credible act in the line of duty, showing initiative, accomplishments, and a devotion to duty. Our first honorable service goes to an officer that has consistently gone above and beyond an officer ever since I've known him. Not only as a patrol officer, but as a field training officer and a canine officer. While going above and beyond for the department as well as the city, he always goes with the utmost integrity as a leader, officer, friend, and colleague. He conducts himself with the characteristics of a good leader. Leadership qualities rub off on others, and he works with and comes in contact with day to day, day in and day out. He has a natural drive to be the best officer he can, and it's easily recognizable as he represents the Johns Creek Department with great pride. During the past year, he successfully implemented a new training center for the canine unit. He didn't do this on his own. He did it with the help of others. It was his drive. So, Officer Will Goins for honorable service this year. Our next category of honorable service falls to 3 officers: Corporal Beth Roberts, Officer Matt DeServo, and Sergeant Russo, recognized for Honorable Service Award for their active bravery responding to a house fire. On February 17, 2017, at 02:30 hours, officers were dispatched to a structure fire. Fortunately, Corporal Roberts, Officer DeServo, and Sergeant Russo were close in proximity to the structure fire and arrived on the scene within a minute. The second floor of the house was partially engulfed in flames and smoke with heading throughout the home. Without hesitation and regard for their own safety, the officers entered the home and located one occupant on the stairway who was suffering from smoke inhalation. She advised that her mother was also inside the residence on the main level. Corporal Roberts immediately escorted the first occupant outside and provided comfort to her while providing dispatch updates. Officer DeServo and Sergeant Russo located the mother up the stairs and were able to escort her to safety. Once the occupants were taken to a safe location outside, the officers began evacuating the neighborhood homes and clearing the roadway to provide space for the fire department's eventual arrival. These officers acted swiftly and bravely in a stressful environment, and the quick actions prevented further injury to the occupants. The actions after the removal of the occupants should be also recognized, as the officers could easily have shut down it after securing the occupants. So once again, honorable service to Corporal Beth Roberts, Officer Matt DeServo, and Sergeant Robert Russo. The next honorable service goes to Officer Brandon Muller. On May 20th, he was the first officer to respond to a structure fire at 6079 Joe Book Road. Officer Muller immediately entered the residence as he observed the roof engulfed in flames and began checking for occupants. Officer Muller located the family upstairs and helped escort them out of the residence as the ceiling began to cave in on them. He confirmed that there were no other occupants in the residence, and Officer Muller did this prior to the fire department arriving. Once outside the residence, Officer Muller began knocking on doors to evacuate them as the apparent fire was spreading. Officer Muller should be recognized for his brave actions. He put his well-being in danger to help ensure the safety of the residents of Johns Creek. His quick actions may have also prevented any potential serious injuries to the family and the residents due to the severity of the fire. Once the fire was extinguished, it damaged at least 4 townhomes. Officer Muller. Our next categories are life-saving awards, and we actually have quite a few this year. On December 6, 2016 at 01:15 hours, the husband witnessed his 43-year-old wife go down in cardiac arrest. He phoned 911 and reported that she was not breathing and had no pulse. The wife was only a few days out of the hospital recovering from the birth of their 8-year-old daughter. The husband was also at home with his 6-year-old daughter and his brother. And the 911 dispatcher advised him to start CPR. Officer Ewan arrived at the location, equipped with his AED. He immediately hooked up the wife to the machine, and when the brother started chest compressions, the wife stopped breathing. Officer Ewan advised to shock the patient. The patient responded and began gasping for air. Officer Ewan continued with chest compressions. Officer Kate Smith arrived on the scene and turned the patient on her side to see if she could clear fluids that had formed in the mouth. The officers went back to chest compressions and noticed that each time they switched, the patient stopped breathing. The machine requested that they shock the patient a second time. Again, she responded and started gasping for air. The officers continued with chest compressions until they were relieved by the fire department, which had been requested. Medical personnel worked on the patient for another half hour to stabilize her before she was ultimately transferred to Emory and Johns Creek. The husband was overwhelmed and anxious to follow his wife to the hospital. This left his brother to care for the newborn baby and the 6-year-old daughter. Officer Smith stayed behind to comfort the 6-year-old with one of the department-issued stuffed animals. She also gave the brother detailed instructions on how to feed and care for the infant. Officer Ewan took the husband to the hospital, and we left contact in the case we would be provided further. Later that evening, Chaplain McCullough went to the hospital to check on the family and the staff in the intensive care unit, and were amazed at the time we took for the follow-up. So the life-saving award goes to Officer Ewan and Katie Smith. On Christmas Eve, shortly before midnight, Officer Smith was dispatched to a medical call with a person down. The patient was placing a last-minute Christmas gift under his tree when he felt lightheaded and went down with a massive heart attack. His 3 children were running around in circles throughout the home while his wife, a nurse, stood in shock. Officer Smith was the first to respond to the 911 call. She got one of the children started to administer CPR while she set up her AED.
She got the pads on the patient, and the machine shocked his heart. The shock produced a rhythm, and Officer Smith continued with CPR until relieved by paramedics from rural Metro. The patient was transported to Emory Johns Creek with enough life left to withstand a medical procedure. Officer Smith then accompanied the family to the hospital and was acknowledged that her service definitely saved the life of the patient. Another officer. Yes. And I don't believe these two officers are here tonight, but Corporal Mazzarelli and Officer Bowie also received a life-saving award for their actions on October 31st. They were both responded to an address regarding a welfare check on a 64-year-old male with difficulty breathing. Officer Bowie was on the scene within 1 minute and advised that the male he was in cardiac arrest. Officer Bowie deployed his AED and shocked the patient and delivered the necessary shock, and then started compressions. Corporal Mazzarelli arrived on the scene and took over compressions until advanced life-saving personnel arrived on the scene. The victim was later transported to North Fulton Hospital, where he was stabilized and completed a medical procedure. So Officer Bowie and Corporal Mazzarelli were issued a life-saving award as well. And another life-saving award goes to Officer Matt DeSerbo and Officer Mosley. On April 8th of this year, Officer DeSerbo and Mosley responded to a medical call in reference to a heroin overdose. The notes on the call indicated the patient was unconscious and not breathing. Upon arrival, the officers located the patient on the first floor of the garage, still unconscious and not breathing. Officer DeSerbo administered 1 round of Narcan. The patient started to vomit but never came to. At this time, Officer Mosley had arrived on the scene and he administered a 2nd round of Narcan. The patient began vomiting, however, did not regain consciousness. EMS and fire personnel arrived on the scene and took over patient care. The patient was eventually transported to Emory Johns Creek, and after a follow-up was alerted and able to speak. The father of the patient told his son and personnel at the hospital that Officer DeSerbo and Mosley were the ones that saved his life. I told him to hang out for a minute. On December 17th, Officer DeSerbo responded to a medical call regarding a 24-year-old female who was unconscious for nearly 30 minutes. Officer DeSerbo recognized this to be unusual and immediately responded to the location. After arriving, she was not breathing, had no pulse, and CPR was administered. As Officer DeSerbo was arriving at the entrance to the complex, EMS and fire personnel were arriving just ahead of him. He followed them to the front of the building and the complex. As he was exiting the vehicle, he observed a female screaming for help. Officer DeSerbo noticed that the other emergency responders may not have seen her as they were exiting their trucks and gathering equipment, so he grabbed his medical bag and ran up 3 flights of stairs to the apartment. After entering the apartment, he found the female lying on the bedroom floor with the father performing CPR. Officer DeSerbo noticed a needle and a spoon with suspected heroin on a nearby desk. Officer DeSerbo recognized that this was a drug overdose rather than a cardiac arrest and administered his Narcan. A short while later, the female began to regain consciousness, but still was not responsive. EMS and fire personnel then arrived on the scene to take over patient care, where she was eventually transported to Emory Johns Creek. Another life-saving measure. Folks, that concludes the formal awards being given. I got to tell you, as the chief, when you give out this many awards, especially for the life-saving awards and the honorable service. It's truly amazing the folks that we have in this department. And I got to tell you that in the turbulent times that we're living in right now, the attacks of violence we have outside and within our own country, being led by acts of cowards towards innocent people, the violent and unprovoked attacks against law enforcement simply for who we are and what we stand for. But I challenge each and every one of you to not become discouraged or disheartened by your duties. Our critics, you see, are those that have no idea what it takes to wear the badge, nor the character or integrity it takes to wear it. And yet, we must continue on, because it's the very essence of our duty. Those that continue to attack us always will, but it's our duty to stand when all others choose to flee. For without us, there's nothing to stop the evil. It's written in Romans chapter 12, verse 21, but do not become overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. You see, that's the essence of who we are and what we do. It's what we're charged with. It's what we must continue with. No matter the cost of it, even if the cost is our own lives. Most of it would be led to believe in this nation right now that we're without the support of our communities that we serve. But I challenge that very opinion, because if you watch a funeral for a fallen LEO, the streets are still lined with people, with flags, blue line flags, support the blue, and they're there to honor that sacrifice that that person made. It's acts of simple people that we come across on a daily basis to say, thank you for your service. They offer to buy your meal at a restaurant. It's those people that have our support, and it's those people that we serve, and it's those people that we need to continue with the honor and integrity that we serve, because it's without their support that we're able to do our job. Because at every point, ladies and gentlemen, each and one of you is going to ask yourself that question that we always do: what was my purpose? What is my purpose? Did I make a difference? But believe me, if you wear the badge and you serve, you were chosen, you were selected, and the answer to that question is yes. You did, and you do make a difference every day. And as a chief, I want to reach out to everyone, and I want to say that may God bless you, to each of you, the duties that you do, the families at home that support you day in and day out. It's without that continues to let us do our job. So again, I want to thank you for coming. May God bless you. Good night.